Coming up, the Troll's wooden club phases through Hermione. Movie mistakes in the Harry Potter universe could easily be dismissed as magic, but maybe not at this volume. We're diving into all the errors in the first film, so if you've somehow never seen it, spoilers ahead. In the flashback set in 1981, you can spot late 80s and early 90s cars parked on Privet Drive. Then, when the story jumps forward to 1991, the Dursleys are driving a Vauxhall Vectra B, a model that didn't go into production until 1995. At that point, only the Vectra A would have been available. Dumbledore never collects the light from the street lamp to his right, but it's off after he finishes collecting the others. Baby Harry's scar is missing when we first see him, but is present in his very next shot. Harry's t-shirt is bunched up at the belt line, and he opens the door at a 90-degree angle, but when he walks through the door, it's open at a 45-degree angle, and his shirt is hanging normally. You can also see the reflection of a boom microphone pole in Dudley's picture here. Then here, Harry's shirt rests on his right shoulder, then sits on both when the camera's on Vernon, before returning to only the right when it cuts back to Harry. Also note Harry's glasses have no lenses, a mistake that pops up throughout the film. Snakes don't have eyelids, but this one clearly blinks several times. It's there when the camera cuts, but notice there isn't a snake in this enclosure. Dudley falls into the boa constrictor's tank and gets soaked, but his hair is still dripping wet when the family gets home. Back in the vivarium, he looks shocked to find the glass there, but if he thought it was gone, it makes no sense for him to reach out and touch it. Harry's first letter from Hogwarts changes from one shot to the next. The flap of the envelope is sealed, then loose, and the red wax seal changes shape.
Running well.
Dad, look, Harry's got a letter!
When Vernon says,
Oz, I'll be writing to you.
you can see Dudley mouthing the line.
Oz, I'll be writing to you.
Look at Vernon's fingernails here. In the close-up as he turns the letter over, they're short and bitten, and clearly not Richard Griffiths' hands. The letters Vernon rips up here have already been pre-cut. The board Vernon uses to block the mail slot changes positions between scenes. You can also see the crack where the letters are supposed to break through the board prior to them doing this. Despite the house visibly trembling when the letters start pouring in through the fireplace, nothing inside the house is moving, except for the tassels on these lamps. Dudley's mouth doesn't match what he's saying in this scene. Harry then catches one of the envelopes, but it's clearly just a flimsy sheet of paper rather than a stiff envelope like the ones he received earlier in the film. He runs away with the envelope, and when Vernon grabs him, he yells. His lips don't move when he says this. The line has obviously been dubbed in later. Dudley's watch flips between shots. It's upside down in the wide, but the right way up in the close-up. You can tell by the Adidas logo and the 3 stripes swapping sides. When Vernon points the shotgun at Hagrid, there's a white mark visible on the barrel showing exactly where it was meant to be bent during the scene.
Dry up, Dursley, you great prune.
After the shotgun is bent, Vernon fires it and blasts a hole through the ceiling. In reality, a weapon with a barrel this badly deformed wouldn't fire like this. The barrel itself would rupture or explode before a shot left the muzzle. Dudley steals Harry's birthday cake and eats it with his hands, which prompts Hagrid to give him a pig's tail with his umbrella wand. But it's clearly not Robbie Coltrane in the shot, but his 6'10" stand-in, Martin Bayfield. It's still Martin Bayfield here, and notice that Dudley's fingers are all covered in cake. When he reaches back to feel his new tail though, his hands are suddenly clean. The blue ribbon around the cake box alternates between hanging off the table and sitting on top of it after Dudley puts it there. Harry and Hagrid pass these barrels surrounded by bottles before heading through the wall to Diagon Alley. Looking behind them here, all of the bottles are gone, and the stone paving is different too. They make their way through Diagon Alley, but you'll notice the same groups of people and the same storefront and flower cart appear several times. Make note of these three girls. The man with long curly ginger hair, the witches gathered around the flower cart, and the purple shopfront with the moving scissors. Here are the three girls passing by again. The shopfront and cart reappear too, but the witches have shifted positions and there's even a new one that wasn't there before. In the background, the three girls walk by for the third time. The flower cart makes another appearance. You'll also spot this couple walking on the right, only to be standing in a doorway on the left moments later. Finally, Harry and Hagrid pass the flower cart once again. And the red-haired man from earlier strolls by a second time. When the Nimbus 2000 is shown, you can clearly see the blue screen through the shop window in the background, where CGI magic was meant to be added later. Hagrid's top secret note in Gringotts changes between shots.
Professor Dumbledore gave me this.
When he holds it up, it's crumpled with the string tied vertically, but when the goblin has it, it's pristine, and the bow is tied horizontally. Despite the stone being described as very secret,
What's in there, Hagrid?
Can't tell you, Harry. Hogwarts business. Very secret.
Voldemort somehow knows it's kept in a Gringotts vault, and even tries to steal it.
Somebody broke into Gringotts.
Later, after it's moved to Hogwarts, Firenze the Centaur also knows it's hidden inside the castle.
Do you know what is hidden in the school at this very moment, Mr. Potter?
The Sorcerer's Stone.
Yet the film never explains how either of them came by this information. Ollivander's grip and hand placement on the second wand he hands to Harry changes between cuts.
Harry, happy birthday!
Harry's scar is missing in this shot, and its shape and size change throughout the film. He sits alone with Hagrid in the leaky cauldron with nobody sitting behind him, but in the next shot, a man and woman are suddenly sitting there. In reality, platforms 9 and 10 at King's Cross Station aren't side by side at all. They're separated by tracks and are effectively in different parts of the station. She who must not be named later admitted she'd confused King's Cross and Euston Station, where platforms 9 and 10 do share a barrier. For filming, platforms 4 and 5 were used at King's Cross, redressed to look like 9 and 10.
9 3/4. Think you're being funny, do you?
These extras vanish between cuts as Percy goes through the barrier. On platform 9 3/4, you can clearly see the overhead electric lines that power modern trains, even though the Hogwarts Express is an old-fashioned steam train. Once aboard, mountains can be seen through the window, placing the train hours outside of London.
Excuse me. Do you mind? Everywhere else is full. Not at all.
How is Ron still looking for a seat at this point? He and Harry met back on the platform at King's Cross, so he should have been right behind him. His hair keeps changing with his parting moving throughout the scene. Their sweets also keep moving position, most notably when Ron tries to turn Scabbers yellow and one of the gummy worms on his leg changes colour between shots. The Bertie Bott's box also gains a cardboard flap in this transition. Hermione's tie goes from crooked when she's standing to perfectly straight when she's seated, and back again on her exit. The collar on Harry's t-shirt develops a rip that wasn't there before, and sometimes isn't there after this sequence with Hermione. She fixes Harry's glasses with this spell.
Oculus Reparo.
But wizarding law forbids under-17s from using magic outside school, and she faces no punishment. The same can be said for Ron.
Sunshine, daisies, buttermellow, and this stupid fat rat yellow.
We're not allowed to do magic away from Hogwarts.
You've got dirt on your nose, by the way. Did you know? Just there.
The dirt mark on Ron's nose changes throughout the train scenes. While it could have been smudged or wiped over time, it appears darker and more pronounced when Hermione points it out. As the first years walk to the sorting ceremony, the Weasley twins are seated to Wood's left at the end of the Gryffindor table. But when the angle changes, they've vanished. They do reappear here later in this sequence. Professor McGonagall reads the first year's names from a scroll, but the order makes no sense.
Hermione Granger, Draco Malfoy, Susan Bones, Ronald Weasley, Harry Potter.
In UK schools, registers are almost always alphabetical. Hermione is sorted into Gryffindor and heads to the right,
Gryffindor!
toward the Gryffindor table on this centre side of the Great Hall. But when Ron is sorted into Gryffindor,
Gryffindor!
he goes off to the left, towards the Hufflepuff and Slytherin tables. As the camera circles Harry during his sorting hat scene, it's clear once again that Hagrid is played by Robbie Coltrane's stand-in.
Gryffindor!
After Harry is sorted into Gryffindor, he sits next to Ron with Hermione opposite beside Percy. In the very next shot though, Harry sat opposite Ron, with Hermione on his right and Percy to his left. Earlier, when entering the Great Hall, Hermione says,
It's not real, the ceiling. It's just bewitched to look like the night sky. I read about it in Hogwarts history.
Yet during the feast, she asks this.
Nearly headless? How can you be nearly headless?
Like this.
Surely if Hermione had really read Hogwarts history, she would have known about the house ghosts, including nearly headless Nick for Gryffindor. Percy leads the first years to Gryffindor Tower. They all act amazed by the moving portraits. Neville and Ron say this.
The picture's moving. Look at that one, Harry.
But for students like them that are from wizarding families, this should be completely normal. Harry's notes in potions class have large, messy handwriting in the shots with Harry in them, but in the close-up, it's small and neat. Ron holds his letters in his left hand and newspaper in his right, but these switch hands when the camera cuts. Harry reads from the Daily Prophet, citing the specific vault number which is vital to the plot, but it isn't actually printed in the article.
Believed to be the work of dark wizards or witches unknown, Gringotts goblins, while acknowledging the breach, insist nothing was taken. The vault in question, number 713, had in fact been emptied earlier that very same day.
The date on this newspaper is August 14th, 2001. The school term should begin in September, and the story is set in 1991. Some argue the films follow a different timeline than the books, but later movies show Lily and James Potter's gravestone, which marks their death as the 31st of October 1981. If this newspaper's date is accurate, it would make Harry 21 years old. Students stand directly behind the bristles of their brooms in the overhead shot, but are standing beside them in the next.
Say up.
Hermione has some tightly crimped parts of her hair here, but they're gone by the next shot of her.
When I blow my whistle, I want each of you to kick off from the ground hard. Keep your brooms steady, hover for a moment, then lean forward slightly and touch back down.
Neville does exactly what Madam Hooch instructed, but she starts saying his name as if he's doing something wrong, even before he loses control of his broom.
Mr. Longbottom!
He then flies around uncontrollably before getting snagged on a statue on a round turret. A few shots later, this statue is now on a flat castle wall. Notice Seamus's broom is bristles down here, and Hermione stands between him and Harry. She's gone in the close-up of him though. He's now directly beside Seamus. When Draco flies off with the Remembrall, Seamus's broom is now bristles up. Hermione's eyeline tracking of the CGI Draco is also way off, as she looks in completely the wrong direction. Watch where the students are gathered near this arch. Harry attempts to snatch the Remembrall from Draco, misses, and ends up behind him. Draco then throws it in the direction Harry approached from, over the students and the arch. In the wide shot, no castle structures are visible, but when Harry takes off, he suddenly speeds past multiple buildings before catching the Remembrall outside McGonagall's window. He then returns to the group, but based on where Draco threw it, Harry should be approaching from behind them, on the opposite side of the arch. McGonagall should also appear from that direction. The geography only makes sense if Draco had thrown the Remembrall to his left, not straight ahead. McGonagall's window has a horizontal bar across the centre in this shot, but this isn't there in the ones that follow. The corridor torches are meant to burst into flame as the characters pass, but the last one is already flickering before they reach it.
Alohomora
Is a basic first-year spell, so you'd expect a door guarding a deadly three-headed dog and the Philosopher's Stone to have stronger protection than a beginner's unlocking charm.
Alohomora. Standard Book of Spells, Chapter 7.
As the trio enter the Gryffindor common room through the fat lady's portrait, someone pushes it shut behind them, and you can see their foot under the frame. In newer releases, this has been digitally corrected. Wood falls after catching the bludger, and the rig beneath the Quidditch box is exposed, showing how the shaking effect was achieved.
You catch this, the game's over. You catch this, Potter, and we win.
Catching the snitch earns 150 points and ends the game, but it doesn't guarantee victory. If the opposing team were more than 150 points ahead, the game would end upon catching the snitch, with them as the winners. After Quirrell collapses, his legs change position between shots. You can see the reflection of the lightning rigs used to simulate the storm. In the troll scene, Hermione hides in the first stall and shuts the door. The troll smashes through the stalls, and in the overhead shot of the swing, Hermione is somehow under the partition between the second and third stalls. You can also see that the stall walls are already pre-broken here. She then hides under the sinks as the troll smashes them with its club. The swing should have struck her, but she's completely unharmed. The troll grabs Harry by his right leg and hangs him upside down, but he's being held by his left leg. Additionally, Harry's scar is missing in his close-ups here.
Wingardium Leviosa!
You hear the club strike the troll, but when it falls to the ground, there's no sound at all.
Cool.
Harry is dropped by the troll, and as he scoots away on the ground, you can see he's wearing knee pads under his trousers. Listen closely for this one. You can hear the footsteps of the professors and the trio leaving the bathroom, but when it cuts to the troll, the footsteps stop, only to resume again when cutting back to Quirrell.
Perhaps you ought to go. Might wake up.
Harry's grip on the wrapped broom changes position between cuts. As the Gryffindor Quidditch team head to the match, a blonde girl is seen walking behind Harry, but in the next shot, she's suddenly a brunette. These Quidditch players don't cast a shadow on the pitch like the ones on the left do. Angelina flies past the two black and white staff towers and a Gryffindor one before she crashes into the same Gryffindor tower she'd already flown past. Harry is reflected in Hermione's binoculars as she watches him, but when it cuts back to her after looking at Snape, the reflection still shows Harry. Then when Hermione says,
It's Snape! He's jinxing the broom!
you can spot Ron mouthing her lines along with her.
He's jinxing the broom!
Just before Harry's broom bucks him off, the seat rig attached to it is briefly visible beneath him. As Harry dangles from his broom, you can see the metal support rods on his wrists used to keep Daniel Radcliffe, or his double, safely attached during filming. Take note of the midfield line here. As Harry pulls out of his dive, he crosses midfield with the goalposts still far ahead. But in the next shot, as he reaches for the snitch, the goalposts behind him are suddenly much larger and closer, even though they should be on the opposite end of the pitch. Then, when he swallows the snitch, he's back at midfield again. The Hogwarts crest on Madame Hooch's outfit switches from her left at the start of the match to her right at the end of it. Hagrid's hair goes from dry to covered in snow between shots.
Knight to e5.
Harry moves his knight from d3 to e5, but it's back at d3 the next time we see the board. Shots of Ron show his right hand inside the Bertie Bott's Every Flavour Beans box, but when the camera cuts to Harry, Ron is suddenly holding the box with this same hand.
Whoa!
Harry sets down the invisibility cloak and places the lantern right beside it, directly on the table. You can hear it connecting with the wood. The lantern doesn't appear to give off any light, since Harry's shadow is cast sharply across the shelves from behind. He opens a book to its first page, but when it screams, it's suddenly open halfway through. Then, when voices approach, Harry grabs his cloak, only now the lantern is somehow on top of it, and it crashes to the floor. When we see Snape and Quirrell arguing from Harry's point of view, the camera places him almost at their eye level, even though he's much shorter. When Harry wakes Ron while wearing the invisibility cloak, he pulls back the sheets, and you can see the string used to create the effect. Harry takes Ron to the mirror under the cloak. When they remove it, the next shot clearly shows the green fabric used for the invisibility effect. You can see the Jess tethering Hedwig to Harry's sleeve here. It's gone in the next shot where she flies away. The shape of the unicorn blood puddle changes between cuts, as does Hagrid's hand position as he reaches for it.
And his work on alchemy with his partner, Nicholas Flamel. Follow me.
Ron throws Dumbledore's card onto the table, and you can see the green section where his moving picture was meant to be added later. Note that Hermione is holding her bag in her right hand here. In this scene, you can see her mouthing Harry's lines.
How many people wander around with dragon eggs in their pocket? Why didn't I see it before?
Her bag disappears as they run to Hagrid's hut, but then reappears in her left hand once they reach it. Fluffy drools heavily on Ron's right shoulder, but after jumping through the trapdoor moments later, his shirt is suddenly completely dry.
Whoa.
Another one that's since been digitally corrected here, but in the flying key scene, as Harry reaches for the broom, you can see one of the strings holding it up. Since Quirrell entered the challenges before the trio, the key to the locked door in this room should already be gone, or the door should already be open. There's also a random electrical cable hanging down in the background here. The cuts Harry gets on his face in the flying keys room keep changing size and position for the rest of the film. In the chess match, they already look different. Then again, when he's knocked unconscious, and even his lightning scar looks crudely drawn on and is noticeably different than it was at the beginning of the movie. By the final scene, the cuts have shifted yet again, and when Harry waves to Hagrid from the train, they've disappeared completely.
All right. Harry, you take the empty Bishop Square. Hermione, you'll be the Queenside Castle. As for me, I'll be a knight.
During the Wizards' chess match, Ron unnecessarily mounts a game piece, even though the others move on their own,
Castle to E4!
putting himself in danger for no reason. Before the blow lands, and again as Ron hits the ground, you can see that Rupert Grint has been replaced by a stuntman. When the chess pieces are smashed, rubble often flies before they're actually struck, sometimes even shooting in random directions or from places other than the piece being destroyed. The enemy queen is shown destroying 2 separate black rooks, but there should only be one, since Ron assigned the second rook position to Hermione.
Hermione, you'll be the Queenside Castle. Once I make my move, the Queen will take me. Then you're free to check the king. Knight to H3.
From Ron's move to H3 and the layout of the pieces in this shot, the next plays are clear. The White Queen moves to G3 to take Ron's knight, and Harry's bishop then moves to C5, which is presented as checkmate. But it isn't checkmate at all, as the Queen can simply slide to E3 and block Harry's attack.
Checkmate!
Between the shot of Ron moving to H3 and the Queen advancing towards him, much of the rubble on the chessboard disappears. Despite being unconscious from when the Queen attacks him, Ron's legs and arm are in different positions when Harry and Hermione run over to him.
During the Quidditch match, Snape tried to kill me.
I tried to kill you.
Throughout the series, Voldemort is obsessed with killing Harry himself, making it inconsistent that he would allow Quirrell to attempt it, even while dependent on Quirrell's body.
Kill him!
Harry's knocked unconscious. His right hand holding the stone is over the edge of a step, but it's on flat ground in the close-up. The final mistake is in the credits. Vern Troyer's name is misspelled here. It's missing the E at the end. That's every mistake we spotted in Harry Potter and the Philosophers or Sorcerer's Stone. If we missed any, let me know in the comments, and tell me if you'd like me to cover Chamber of Secrets too. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Pulp Fiction.